everybody, welcome back to the Chunky Duels. This is Jordan. Today you have an emergency update on Hurricane Melissa. It is now a Category 4 hurricane and will reach Category 5 status tomorrow. And it could make landfall as either a Category 4 or a Category 5 hurricane in Jamaica, where it will bring catastrophic impacts. It will also bring catastrophic impacts to portions of southeastern Cuba. And eventually it will bring some significant impacts to the Bahamas and later this week. It will bring some impacts to Bermuda. In this video I'm going to talk about the forecast for Melissa, the impacts it's going to bring, and what you should do to prepare for these impacts. Anyways, let's get straight into this weather forecast. First of all, I'm going to talk about the forecast for Hurricane Melissa. Right now it's at 145 miles an hour with a pressure of 941 millibars. It has been rapidly strengthening over the past couple of days and is expected to peak at 160 miles an hour tomorrow, probably 165 mile an hour peak, before it makes landfall in Jamaica. Likely either as a high in Category 4 hurricane or a Category 5 hurricane. Eventually make landfall as Cuba, likely as a Category 3 hurricane, before eventually moving over Bahamas as likely a Category 2 hurricane, and eventually will impact Bermuda as likely a Category 1 hurricane. So anyways, let's talk about the forecast for Hurricane Melissa. First of all, looking at the National Hurricane Center forecast, we can see that Melissa is located just to the south of Jamaica, but it is moving quite slowly still, so it still has probably a couple of days before it makes landfall. You can see right now, Melissa is now a mid-range Category 4 hurricane. Looking at the forecast advisory, it's at 145 miles an hour, wind gets up to 175 miles an hour. But as it becomes a Category 5 hurricane, it will peak at 160 miles an hour of wind gusts up to, I think that's 195 miles an hour or 190 miles an hour, not sure which it is. And eventually it will weaken as it moves over Jamaica and as it moves over Cuba there, and eventually move over Bahamas as a Category 2 hurricane before impacting Bermuda as a Category 1 hurricane. Looking at the forecast cone here, you can see right now wind field's decently big. I think the hurricane force wind field isn't gonna be super big, but it's gonna be a large gradient from like Category 1 on the outside to Category 5 on the inside. That's gonna be like intensifying quick. Like you could be like experiencing Category 1 hurricanes and then 10 minutes later it's like Category 4 or 5 because it's just such a small area of those hurricane force winds. And anyways, it's expected to gradually weaken after it makes landfall in Jamaica and will continue that trend for several days as it moves off to the north and to the northeast there. We have tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches for portions of southern Haiti still. Jamaica is under a hurricane warning. If you're in Jamaica, you should have had your preparations done yesterday, by the way. You don't really have any more time to prepare. If you're in Cuba, southeastern Cuba now has a hurricane warning for much of the area, and there's a tiny area that has a tropical storm warning. You should be starting your preparations now there, and you should probably have them done by like Tuesday. So you have today, tomorrow, maybe a little bit of Tuesday to prepare. And the Bahamas, no alerts out for you yet, but I'll assume we'll issue hurricane watches sometime in the next couple of days for portions of the Bahamas, so just pay attention to this system if you're in the southeastern parts and southern parts of the Bahamas. Look at our satellite imagery. You can see Melissa has been struggling a little bit to intensify because there's been a little dry air intrusion, probably due to a couple instances where it lost a part of its eye wall being closed, but now the eye wall is well rounded and I think it's going to continue to intensify. Also, you can see those outer bands there, and you can see Jamaica and southern Haiti are getting quite a bit of rain, and that rain's going to continue for a few more days here. So we are going to see some catastrophic flooding in southern Haiti and much of Jamaica there, and we just had a little bit of rain starting in as the southern tip of Cuba there as well. Looking at our weather models, you can see here, here's the HMON. It's a little behind on the intensity, around 5 miles an hour. But as you can see, it expects it to peak at around 130 knots or 150 miles an hour before it turns north and makes landfall in Jamaica around 6Z tomorrow, or Tuesday, which is pretty early in the day, like 1 a.m. And then eventually it will re-strengthen a little bit before making landfall in Cuba. This has it being later on Tuesday there, and then it will make landfall in the southeastern portion of the Bahamas sometime on Wednesday there as well, before it moves off to the northeast and it brings some impacts to Bermuda there. Looking at the HFSA, you can see this has a much more compact system. This is around the same intensity the National Hurricane Center has it, maybe a little more. But anyways, you can see it has it weakened a little bit before strengthening again. And you can see here it has it peaking at around 135 knots, which is about 155 miles an hour, not quite a Category 5. Eventually it does have it making landfall in Bermuda around 18Z Tuesday, which is later than a lot of other models. And then the landfall in Cuba would be sometime Wednesday between 9Z and 12Z there. And then eventually it has it making landfall in the Bahamas sometime late Wednesday. And then eventually it moves off towards Bermuda, bringing some hurricane force winds to Bermuda there. And then we have the Google DeepMind model as well, which is an AI model. You can see has it continuing to be a Category 4 hurricane for a couple of days before it makes landfall in Jamaica or Cuba as a Category 3 hurricane there. If we could get this to go, we'll show the rest. Eventually it has it moving off to the northeast, still being a Category 3 hurricane over the Bahamas, and eventually it rapidly weakens to a Category 1 hurricane as it passes by Bermuda. And you can see after that it's very uncertain where it could go. It could go all the way from like Nova Scotia-ish, Newfoundland area, all the way to Ireland-ish area. So we have to really watch portions of like Ireland and the United Kingdom several days, like in a week or more from now, for some impacts from the extratropical part of this system. Now we are going to talk about the impacts that Melissa will bring to Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, and the Bahamas, and maybe even Bermuda as well. So, first of all, I'm going to talk about Jamaica because they will see the worst impacts in the form of catastrophic flooding and very catastrophic winds. Haiti will also see some catastrophic flooding as well as southeastern Cuba. The Bahamas will see some significant impacts, so you'll see not as much rainfall as some other places, but still a significant amount of rainfall, and they will get some significant wind gusts as well. And Bermuda will also see some significant flooding probably and some strong wind gusts. So anyways, let's talk about the impacts of Hurricane Melissa. First of all, we're going to talk about our wind speed probabilities. So right now, the places that will definitely get tropical storm force winds are Jamaica, obviously, southeastern Cuba, and portions of the southeastern Bahamas. Some other places that could feel some tropical storm force winds are portions of Haiti, portions of the rest of the Bahamas, and Bermuda could see some tropical storm force winds as well later this week. Looking at 50-knot wind speed probabilities, Jamaica is likely to see those. Cuba will likely also see some in a few days. The Bahamas could also see some 50-knot wind speeds. And Bermuda could see some, although we're really uncertain on that right now. Even for our hurricane wind speed probabilities, looks like Jamaica will likely see some, Cuba could see some, and parts of Southeastern Bahamas could see some hurricane force winds. Bermuda, looking unlikely as of now. Levels probabilities will likely go up as it gets closer to Bermuda. Looking at our flooding, you can see right now we have a spot where we could see up to 40 inches of rain in a portion of eastern Jamaica. A lot of Jamaica will see over a foot of rain. A lot of areas will see 20 to 30 inches of rain. And some areas could see over 30 inches of rain as well. In southern Haiti, it looks like 8 to 16 inches of rain, with some areas possibly seeing a little more than 16 inches. Even southeastern Cuba will likely see possibly up to 2 feet of rain in some areas. That's well over 20 inches of rain. And portions of the Bahamas could see over 6 inches of rain to a foot of rain, so make sure you are paying attention to this in those areas. Looking at the key messages for Jamaica, you need to have all your preparations done. Like, if you don't have your preparations done, it's already too late. We're expecting catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding, which will cause landslides in many areas. So if you live in a mountainous area, like if you live near a mountain, you have to get out of there. You should already be out of there, because there's going to be a lot of landslides. And there's also going to be catastrophic wind gusts, so make sure you're either underground or in a storm shelter, because you're not going to survive this just above ground. This isn't your normal hurricane, this is a historic hurricane. And there's also going to be some storm surge, possibly 10 to 15 feet of storm surge in some areas, and there could also be some very big waves crashing onto that shore. So if you live near the coast, you need to get out of there too. In Haiti and the Dominican Republic, mostly southwest Haiti-ish, southern Haiti, you're gonna see catastrophic, life-threatening flash flooding like Jamaica is, just not as extreme, and there could also be some strong wind gusts there. Not hurricane force likely, just some tropical storm force winds, but those could last a little bit. Eastern Cuba, southeastern Cuba there, they could see some life-threatening storm surge, probably around 5 to 10 feet of storm surge, not as extreme as Jamaica, but still life-threatening nonetheless. There will be some significant wind gusts, maybe some catastrophic wind gusts, and there will also be some catastrophic flooding as well in portions of Cuba there. Preparations should be done like by the end of tomorrow. In the Southeast Bahamas and Turks and Caicos Islands there, you will likely see some significant storm surge, some strong wind gusts, significant wind gusts, and some heavy rainfall. Not too sure on the exact impacts yet, but we will have more updates on that as we get in the future. Anyways, now I am going to be talking about how you can prepare for this, and this is not for Jamaica or southwestern Haiti. If you're in those areas, you should have already been prepared. I'm going to talk about Cuba. So in Cuba, you need to be done with your preparations by the end of tomorrow. If you're in coastal areas, get farther inland. Make sure you are prepared for some catastrophic flooding. Make sure you are on an upper floor of your structure, but also make sure that you are protected from significant to catastrophic wind gusts, so be in a storm shelter probably. And after the winds move through, there's going to be quite a bit of flooding. So after the worst of the winds move through, you want to go upstairs and make sure you are safe from the flooding there. Board up your windows and doors to make sure you can keep as much water as possible out and to protect from the wind. If you're in the Southeastern Bahamas or the Turks or Caicos Islands, probably just watch this storm, start getting preparations done, like get some food, get some water, make sure you have stuff to eat that doesn't require cooking the food, because you're probably going to lose power. So make sure you get already prepared food that doesn't need cooked, make PBJ sandwiches, stuff like that can be eaten without being cooked and stuff. And also make sure you are prepared for some significant wind gusts, some significant flooding, and some storm surge as well there. So make sure you board up your windows over the next couple of days, and also make sure you have an emergency plan for when the hurricane hits. And if you are in Bermuda, wait to prepare, just keep watching the storm, and we will have more details of the impacts in a few days, and I will make more updates on this system as we get over the next several days. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel so YouTube will push us out to more people, so people know what's coming and know how they should prepare and what will happen in their areas. Also, make sure to share this with your friends and family that are in the impacted areas, such as Jamaica, Haiti, Eastern Cuba, the Southeastern Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. Maybe even Bermuda, just so that they know this is going to get there later this week. And also leave a comment down below on what you think about this hurricane. Anyways, goodbye.